Good evening. I will call the meeting to order at this time. If you will, please rise for the invocation and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. I'd like to call on Dr. David Barber to lead us in the invocation, please.
Let's pray. Lord, I thank you so much for having this opportunity. We can come, we can do the business of the town of Smithfield. I thank you, Lord, for the opportunities that we have. I thank you, Lord, for our town. I thank you, Lord, for the great things that are going on. And I pray, Lord, we help continue to do the things that meet the needs of all of our citizens, regardless who they are. Lord, we pray right now that you would let us be able to do the town business in a way that is respectful to others. And Lord, that it bring glory to your name. For us in the name of Jesus we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. I know Councilman Wood is out sick this evening. Town Attorney Mr. Bob Spence is out sick this evening. I have not heard from Councilman Lee, so we will go ahead and get started. You do have the agenda in front of you. We do have one change or one addition to the agenda, or proposed addition, which is business item 2, consideration to support an application for CMAQ/CRP grants to support construction of an 8-foot wide trail from the Neuse River to Wilson's Mills Road. That is one of the additions, or requested additions. Anything else? Okay. All right, not hearing anything. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I make a motion to approve the agenda with the modifications.
Second. Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, gentlemen. Okay, we'll move on to our presentations. Our first presentation is administering the oath of office to new police officer Joseph Robert Young. If you will, please come forward, and anyone that you would like to come forward, you can just come right here to the front. And if Captain Grady would also join us. How are you? Who would you like to hold it? All right, hold it. Okay. I, Joseph Young, the undersigned, do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States, that I will faithfully bear true allegiance to the state of North Carolina and to the constitutional powers and authorities which are or may be established for the government thereof, that I will endeavor to support, maintain, and defend the Constitution of said state, not inconsistent with the Constitution of the United States, that I will be alert and vigilant to enforce the criminal laws of this state, that I will not be influenced in any manner on account of personal bias or prejudice, and that I will faithfully and impartially execute the duties of my office as a law enforcement officer according to the best of my skill, abilities, and judgment. So help me God. Congratulations. Okay, our next presentation is the swearing in of Officer Lorenzo Babori. Will you please come forward, and anyone else who would like to join you? Would you like to hold the mic? Okay. Put your hand on the button. after me, sir. I, Lorenzo Babori, the undersigned, do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States, that I will faithfully and bear true allegiance to the state of North Carolina and to the constitutional powers and authorities which are or may be established for the government thereof, that I will endeavor to support, maintain, and defend the Constitution of said state, not inconsistent with the Constitution of the United States, that I will be alert and vigilant to enforce the criminal laws of this state, that I will not be influenced in any manner on account of personal bias or prejudice, and that I will faithfully and impartially execute the duties of my office as a law enforcement officer according to the best of my skill, abilities, and judgment. So help me God. Congratulations, sir. Be careful. Okay, now we'll move on to our next presentation, which is fiscal year 21-22 audit presentation. Greg, is that you, sir?
We have someone
Mayor, council, manager, these years roll around fast these days.
Yes, they do.
Seems like we were just here with our audit results last year, just recently. But anyhow, the audit is now finished. Alan, you correct me if I'm wrong, I think we're still waiting on LGC to review. Thumbs up?
Yeah.
They finished their review. So it's a done deal. And Alan Thompson from TPSA is here to give you an overview and also give you a chance to ask questions if you have any. Alan?
Thank you. And good evening and Happy New Year to everyone. You should have in front of you a presentation summary. I'm going to go from that. The main thing you hire us as an independent audit firm to do is issue an opinion on the financial statements as a whole. We issued an unmodified report, which is a quote-unquote clean report. On page 1, I'm going to read a few things, and then we'll talk about the numbers. There were no significant audit findings, no difficulties encountered in performing the audit, no uncorrected misstatements on page 2, no disagreements with management. Management did provide us with a representation letter dated December 13th. We're unaware that management consulted the outside accountants, auditors, et cetera. And then no other findings, issues, et cetera. And then if you'd be kind enough to flip over to page 4, and let's talk about the numbers for just a second. Again, I never say these are all the key numbers in the audit report, but these are some we get asked about a lot, and what we attempt to do is put those in this first column and then put the 4 prior years beside them so you get a feel for any trends, et cetera, and it's not just a number hanging out in blue sky. So you can see the first number there, total fund balance in your general fund at $16,120,000. If you were to go back to 2018, you see that number at $12,268,000, so a nice trend upward. We'll talk about fund balance percentage in just a minute, but there is a little blip that has some significance. Unavailable fund balance at $3,565,000, restricted, committed, and assigned at $4.7 million. Total general fund expenditures at $16,143,000. You can see that's up a little bit, and that's what I want to talk about in just a second. The board agreed to pay off some debt. The couple of notes that were paid off caused that fund balance not to have gone up as high, and will cause a little blip in some of the percentages, only because when total expenditures go up, it causes the percentage to go down. As that debt's not paid off in, quote, next year's expenditures, the percent will just flip right back up. So it shouldn't be a big deal, but if you say, what happened, that's the reason it happened.
Alan, and if I could inject here, just to remind council, that debt was the SRAC debt. We paid off both loans. I don't remember the exact figure now. It was, I think, $2-3 million. And so that number, when you pay that amount of debt off, it does two things. Of course, it increases your expenditures, and your common denominator here when trying to determine percentages is what were your expenses for that year. So when that number increases, it has a dual effect, but it also reduces your fund balance, because your fund balance is based on what you have in savings versus what were your expenses for that year. Okay. That's it.
Yes, sir. I think if I am right, there was about $2,570,000, I can see good enough, $2,625,000. That was the total amount between the two notes. So you can see fund balance available as a percentage, 77.77%. Unassigned fund balance at $11.3 million. Unassigned fund balance at 70.55%. And then revenues over and under expenses before contributions and transfers. The general fund had a negative $130,605. Again, that same issue, 2.5 in debt payments. Electric fund, $822,000 positive, and water sewer fund, almost $3 million positive. I'm going to say this before we even get to the cash. The main thing when you look at electric fund, water sewer fund is not how much it might have gone up or gone down. What you're really always looking for there is cash flow, because you're not operating them to, quote, generate tons of money. You want to be able to cash flow and pay for things. You're not trying to sell anything. You want to make sure you're providing a good service at a fair price. And this shows that. Cash and accumulated depreciation, you can see total fixed assets, accumulated depreciation in cash there. I'm not going to read numbers. And you can see cash in your general fund, even with that debt payment, it's still at $14,075,000. Electric fund is $11,997,000. Water sewer fund is $14,396,000. And other governmental funds at $5,053,000. Realizing other governmentals can go up and down depending on where a project is or other governmental or restricted funds are in a specific year. Total fund balance, again, in general fund is $16.1 million. Fund balance in electric fund is $19.9 million. And fund balance in the water sewer fund is $28.1 million. Other governmentals is $60,224. Property tax rates, you can see consistent across the board, no increase. Collection percentages are awesome at 99.88%. Collection percentage excluding motor vehicles is virtually the same. And you see total property valuation, levy amount, and then you can see debt. And you can see what we've been talking about, governmental activities, the big dip there from $7,588,000 down to $4.686 million. And then business type activities had a big bump up at $12,639,000. If you flip over to page 5, you can see a breakdown of your general fund revenues and a general fund expenditures by department. And at the second number up on that first column, you see the big bump there in debt payments or debt expenditures there. So that's what we're talking about. On page 6, you can see the chart there with total fund balance and restricted. And then on the bottom, this is really what I was trying to prep you for. So when you see, even though you're significantly above the group weighted average, You can see the dip there, and that all has to do with that percentage dropping because total expenditures bumped up. And then on page 7, same thing on the top of that page, unassigned fund balance dipped there because of the same reason. And then on the bottom, you can see revenues over and expenses before transfers. Water, sewer, and electric fund are positive. General fund took a small dip because of that. I feel like I'm saying that over and over, but because you keep seeing it, I wanted you to know what it was about. Then you see on page 8, total cash balances and fund balances. On the top in a pie chart with totals underneath that, total cash balance is $40,470,000 and the fund balances at $64,153,000. You can see the property tax rates on page 9 at the top with the group weighted average and then the collection percentages on the bottom. I will say this about group weighted average. Going forward, group weighted average is going to have less meaning. LGC has been doing that by populations. They're going to go to basically everybody over 100 million on a budget in general fund and everybody under 100 million, and that kind of limits its comparability to have much use. On page 10, you can see the breakdown by percentages on the pie chart there of your general fund revenue with ad valorem taxes making up 48.64 and your sales tax and other revenues at 33.15. And then on the bottom, you can see the expenditures with public safety being the number one with debt service and state public works and general governmental there and cultural recreation at 12. We did make one prior period adjustment, and it really increased your fund balance. We just accrued an additional month of sales tax, which the LGC was asking us to do via memo. So that's the only real issue we had anywhere. Books are good. We issued an unmodified report, clean report. Your numbers look good. Even with the dip we're talking about, percentages are above group weighted average. So I think a good, strong report. Everything looks good. Commend you as a board, finance department, et cetera. I'm happy to answer questions now, but also as you flip through it, go through it, and get bored one night and read it all the way through, you're welcome to call me anytime. If I happen not to be in the office, tell them to give you my cell number. I'll get you an answer to what your question is. And we appreciate you allowing our firm to do the audit.
Okay. Any questions at this time for Mr. Thompson or for Greg? All right. Well, good report. Thank you very much, Greg, Mike, department heads, our staff. Thank you very much for a very good report and to the council, right? I mean, it's under your leadership that that we've been able to do this. So we thank you very much. I'm sure that as we read through this, some questions may come up, and just know that you're welcome to email and/or call. And so we appreciate it very much, and thank you for coming out this evening. Appreciate it. Greg, anything else?
No. You all don't have any questions? You're making it way too easy for me.
There probably will be some, but thank you, sir. Appreciate it. And now we'll move on to our first public hearing. I believe this is on page 19 of your agenda, I believe. Starting on page 19, yep. Okay, this is not a quasi-judicial hearing, so no need for anyone to be sworn in at this time. It's CA-22-02 Town of Smithfield. The applicant is requesting an amendment to the comprehensive land use plan that considers removing the proposed third I-95 crossing from its current proposed location. This time, I will entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
Move to open public hearing.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Stephen, turn it over to you, sir.
So this is being initiated by staff, and it's an amendment to the transportation plan and growth management plan, which we call the town plan. As you know, we've had a lot of growth in town, a lot of things are changing. We're trying to keep up with it, and the comprehensive plans are a 10-year plan, but they do get renewed as things come up, and we evaluate it and bring it forward, and that's what we're doing tonight. So I got two images here. So the current town plan is on the left, and that's you can see let's see if I got the pointer here. This segment here is supposed to continue to the east, cut through the Smithfield Business Park, cross over I-95 to the east side of 95. That's what's in our comprehensive plan right now. And, we looked at this. What happened is we had someone interested in a commercial development right where that segment is, right in here, in the middle of that dot. So we were asked to take a look at that by the applicant, and I've had a conversation with the manager and my staff, and we started questioning about, economic development hat. Is it, the development probably won't happen if that plan is adhered to versus what is our long-term need for the town. And so that is the discussion. We started looking at alternatives. What if we didn't have that crossing? Is there any other place we could have a crossing? Updating the plan. Since that original plan went through, Durwood-Stevenson was created, which is our main sort of east-west Durwood-Stevenson Parkway. What if that route were extended and became the location? But the tracks are really close to Durwood-Stevenson. That is really not a feasible alternative to get over the tracks because you got to elevate quickly and then get back down. And furthermore, where this lands is close to where the DOT has some proposed drawings for a future interchange on I-95, and it just won't work with that. And this is the latest future plans for I-95. It's changed multiple times, just like we're changing our plans multiple times. So this is the latest version, and the crossover I just showed you would interfere with these ramps. And I have to apologize. One map was meant to hit your agenda, but I was away and just asked that it get attached, and the whole booklet got attached, not just one map. So that's why you got like 50 pages instead of one. And we also looked at, what is the possibility of taking the current alignment of Peden Road? What if that were to cross over and serve the same purpose? And talking to DOT, that is potentially feasible. However, all the driveways on Peden Road, probably from Components Drive to Outlet Center Drive, would have to be closed because you'd have to start elevating pretty far back to achieve that. So again, may or may not be a feasible alternative. We don't know. Again, we don't really know what DOT is going to do in the future, but we did look at that as an alternative. So really the options to consider are to do nothing. The route is still relevant to the town's long-range transportation plan. Delete the route from the comprehensive land use plan as it's no longer relevant given the recent and planned development changes. I want to back up. I forgot to show you something. Thought I had a page on here. Originally, this was conceived as part of the Southeast Area Study. And originally, there was a plan to have Outlet Center Drive from here, behind the theater. The road would continue up, connect to Peden Road, and then come across and around. Of course, we all know this whole segment in here isn't going to happen. We have a development plan for that site, and that connection won't be made. So, the extent of that corridor is now broken, which is part of the reason why we're recommending this crossing go away. Sorry, I forgot to mention that. Any questions on that? Okay, it's in your packet. So the other alternative was maybe realign the route with Peden Road, understand the access to the Carolina Premium Outlet driveways, the Chamber driveway, and possibly others on Peden Road would likely be closed with a future bridge. And then lastly, potentially there's some other unknown, undetermined options, which we haven't looked at. Can't think of any, but, ideally it would be nice to have a third crossing over the freeway, but, the location is just, may or may not be feasible. So staff has recommended the town council approve the amendment to the town plan, and I have a recommended motion. And I would entertain any questions you have, any thoughts, concerns.
Questions, comments for Stephen at this time?
Mayor, I have a couple comments I'd like to make. Can you go back to the 95, I think you said that's the latest plan. I don't know, but it says August 22. I think it's important to know that the next slide, I think, Mr. Winston.
Next one?
Okay, this plan here, I think, this has been looked at in many phases, but it's important for the town to remember that that is a reroute of I-95. That current road and all that property will become in this corridor that we were told would be deeded back to the owners and could be developed. So even if the road didn't cross 95, the extension, if it was maintained as a plan, I think it's important for we to keep that as an option, on the plan. Because all of that property where that current road is would potentially be retail development. Am I right? In other words, you're adding, the property that is currently today is on the east side of 95. You're
Yeah.
adding several acres in that corridor.
This area right here.
That's correct. And it would have road frontage and could be developed.
It could be, and it could still be accessible from Outlet Center Drive.
Right. So my point was saying that is, even if that extension doesn't cross the interstate, it still gives access, or that's just going to become a potentially a desolate area if we don't have, potential growth for it. So that's just my thought, my observation. I don't think that we should take any action on this plan, because we know that every plan can be changed. We modify them all the time. As if a developer comes and wants to make we would give it great consideration. But I think it's important for us to have, just taking it off the plan, I don't know, because the town of Smithfield really got treated unfairly. I don't know for what reasons. Before most of this board was on, when that roundabout was developed, there was a lot of disagreements, and we're still faced with that today. We're still paying a large amount of debt on that project, and it still doesn't make much sense. But anything that we can do, and I see Ms. Daughtry here, bring in development, and other people here that care about this community, having that as an option, I think is hugely important.
Can I ask you, so on this map here, can you show us where the bridge would be? On this map here?
Sorry. This is the outlet mall right here. And so, this is the outlet mall. This is Peden Road that comes through here right now. This is the business center.
Right.
So the extension of Peden Road will cut through this woodland here on the west side of the business park and land right about here, and right through this developable land between the outlet center and the business park. And so that is where there is someone interested in purchasing the land for commercial development, and if this road goes through, there's just not enough land to do the development, which is why I'm here tonight. In terms of the access to this land to the south, I would think you've got Outlet Center Drive right here, which can serve as an access to that land. So we're not losing access to that on, if the freeway moves.
I guess I was a little confused. I thought the concern was with the land on the other side of 95.
Well, if you move the road down. it
So,
will be-
Yeah, if-
Stephen, is the concern, is this the lot that there used to be a ball field on, Gary? Is this the lot that used to be right beside what used to be the Sylvania plant?
Yes.
Now, right?
Yes,
It's that
it's
open
zoned-
lot that we used to have a baseball field on, right? So it's a vacant lot now, and the road used to come through, it's proposed coming through that lot. Is that
That's right.
correct?
That is correct.
So that's the main issue, right? And I agree with Councilman Scott as far as the plan goes. I think we need to, whatever we do tonight, I think we need to immediately begin getting this plan updated and get it back, where it should be, right? But the issue is with that particular lot,
Okay.
which is on the same side as the business center now, which is the old Sylvania plant.
And it's also, it was this, on our comp plan, that was originally planned as a major collector because it's going over the freeway, taking all that traffic, and it's no longer going to get us back to Market Street. So
Right.
it's just going to take us to Peden Road and then, I guess, go up Venture Drive.
And this plan that's up now will probably have to be redone again because
Probably.
of what's going on with
Field?
Eastfield and so forth, probably.
Yeah, this might be taken into account.
Oh, is this already taken into?
I think it
Is this
does.
the revised one?
This is the
there?
revised.
Oh, okay, gotcha, sorry.
That's my
Okay.
understanding.
All right.
Well, Mayor, too, I think it's fair to point out that regardless of what the plan says, it's old and it needs to be updated, we would be open to, if you said you had a commercial developer that wanted to develop it, well, most commercial development's going to have some type of road structure involved in it anyways, whether it's a parking plan and maps, and so either way, it would be passable, whether it's but I think what you're wanting to avoid, and help me understand, is you want to take off the plan that it's going to be a collector road, which would subdivide property, but we don't have a solid plan to build the road.
Right. Having that road, the meaning of having that road on the comp plan means the developer would have to build that road if they come in and develop. They'd be obligated to set aside the right of
That's not what you said
way.
a while ago. I'm sorry, I did not understand that. So,
By taking it off the plan, we're no longer obligating the developer to honor that road corridor that we're planning. They will be free to develop the property without that being imposed upon them.
that's different.
Yes.
And the issue is, what really is the value of that corridor if it's no longer connected to, over to Market Street? Where does the traffic go, and what is it connecting to? And the way things are planning, I'm not so sure if it's that meaningful anymore. I mean, we all agree a third crossing is meaningful, but I just don't know if that's really going to work. And is it worth it? I mean, we have an opportunity to develop some land, and given all the circumstances, I'm not sure if that crossing makes sense. And I guess that's where you guys have to also decide, given the options we have.
What positive impacts would leaving this road on there do you see? Is there anything positive to leave it on there?
The only positive would be is if for some reason we can still get a crossing in that location. It could have some meaning depending on what happens on the other side of I-95. But again, you don't want to invite a lot of traffic that just kind of tees into another road. It's not
I don't see
really getting you anywhere.
It won't benefit downtown Smithfield at all.
No.
It won't benefit, yeah,
The original intent is no longer there.
right, I understand. Gotcha.
Well, I
Other
guess
than a
my previous
crossing.
comments was in regards to, without having stated, the current traffic flow on Outlet Center Drive is horrendous. Our original plan looped it back like you explained a while ago. This would give you another area. However, I'll take based on what you just said, this could hold up the development and make somebody develop the road if they wanted to use that piece of property. Therefore, it's hindering potential development, and I don't like that at all.
Of this particular site.
And with the current plan as is, well, the extension went behind behind the theater or right in front of the theater or whatever.
Behind, I believe.
So we have another development that's been approved
remember
and
that.
gone through court proceedings and so forth, which has pretty much killed that portion of it.
Right.
So if you take that away, we really don't have any other area right in there for that connector to connect into this, right, and to be able to open up. So that's why I'm saying, my thought process is it's probably not needed now, but I do think as we continue to grow in that area, we really need to get planning and get something done, back on paper and get it in front of the appropriate committees that it needs to go in front of and so forth, which I'm sure you're already working on, right? But with that portion of it that we lost there around the theater, I don't know how it's really going to help traffic in that area too much. You agree with that?
I agree, except for I think we've kind of run out of options
Yeah.
for traffic over there.
Well,
In
I
terms-
heard that, but I don't know that I believe that.
I'm not
So-
certain, but
Right.
I don't have the skills yet. I mean, it might be sitting down with DOT.
And that's why when I saw this and, it
Yeah.
said we don't have any other options, I immediately told Mike, no, let's start looking for other options.
Yeah, that's the
and figure it out.
last
Right.
option on my list,
So-
some other that I'm not aware of.
Right. So,
Let me ask a question. I'm a little confused because you said that the builders would have to be forced to build that road. But then we're talking about on the other side that they built things down here now that the road is, you can't do because you can't build that road because something was built in that place where that road was planned. Is that correct?
My
There's stuff built
my
there where the road
understanding,
was there was built.
It's not totally correct, no.
Because my understanding, hold on, but my question was, you said that the builder would be obligated to build that road if they had that property. So my question is, those people who bought this property here, where's the road? If they're obligated to build the road, and if they're saying this, so my question is, see, I'm saying, if they weren't obligated to do it then, why would they be obligated to do it then? You see, I'm confused.
Mike, you can fill in the maybe history of that, but
You understand what I'm saying?
I'm assuming you're talking about the other connector road that was not built. Why weren't they forced to build? Is that your question?
Okay,
Okay.
let's say that's a good
Yeah,
question.
By the
they weren't
theater.
forced to build because through the process of the Crossroads project itself, that road was removed from the comp plan because it was no longer viable at that location, but nothing was put back. So with nothing there, then the developer came in with a development, said, I want to develop this, and development was denied, and then the court approved it, and now we've got a development that may go there, is planned to go there. They don't have sewer right now, but they don't have to build the road because it wasn't on the plan at the time, the comprehensive plan. Does that answer your question?
It's kind of like adding the sidewalks, so make sure we have sidewalks if they ever come. They're on the plan, but they may never show up.
Would it be possible to put in your recommendation, it's okay to omit the required road, but that the developer, it depends if it's commercial retail, or if it's commercial, industrial, whatever, they're gonna fence it off, but they would have interconnector agreements. Much like when you go to Garner, you can drive, Target is connected to all the other ones. If that developed in that manner, it would be fine.
well, we do require lateral connections wherever it's meaningful and we can require them. The business center is pretty much built out, except for this side of it. I'm not sure if there's any way to connect to that. I think part of their site is fenced off. And the outlet center is pretty much backs up to this site. So to the north, there is maybe some potential connection, but it won't serve a public purpose.
I guess you don't understand what I'm saying. If you had a great big parking lot developed out there with lots of businesses, I'm thinking of like a master plan.
Right.
That it would have areas that connect together.
with different businesses on that piece of
Right.
property. That's what he's referring to.
Instead of having one subdivision in and out,
Which I
one
think
subdivision in
we
and
would
out, it
probably
would be
require,
connected.
or have the ability to require,
Yeah.
if that's the case, yeah.
What's that property zone for?
It's B3.
So it has to be business. So it has to be business. It has to be business, have to have parking where you get cars in. So it has to be. I don't- that's something I have to build a road.
Any other questions for Stephen at this time, staff?
Mayor, perhaps this would be a good topic for a workshop when we have more in discussion, but I don't see us wasting more time on this.
Any comments from anyone in the audience wishing to speak on this matter, for or against? If you will, please state your name and address for the record.
Good evening, council members. My name's Amy Kraut. I'm an attorney at Smith Anderson Law Firm, 150 Fayetteville Street, Suite 2300 in Raleigh. I represent the Fortune 200 company that's in negotiation with the property owner to develop that piece of property that you've been talking about, and it's, as you know, very much affected by the Peden Road extension contemplated by the town plan adopted in 2020. My client, as a potential end user and retail developer of the property, along with the property owner, Teresa Daughtry is here with me today as a representative of the property owner, is in full support of the planning staff and planning board's recommendation to delete this route from the comprehensive plan. As the staff report indicates, left as is, the proposed extension will adversely affect the sale of the property and the development of the property. For my client in particular, development is not possible unless the Peden Road extension is deleted from the comprehensive plan. As such, my client respectfully requests that the town council delete the Peden Road extension from the comprehensive plan as recommended by the staff and planning board. Thank you.
Any questions on that? I do have one question. I'm not sure if you can answer it or not, right? But without divulging, I know at this stage, the development, who you represent and so forth. But back to Councilman Scott's question, are you allowed to state, as far as the development goes, would it be one individual company or would it be a multi-use type project? I think that was what one of his concerns was from a connectivity standpoint.
Sure.
And I'm not sure that size lot is really open to multi-use per se. I mean, but I don't know. I have no idea. Is it 100 acres? Oh, wow, I didn't realize that. Okay, never mind. All right, but anyway, I didn't realize there was that many acres.
That small sliver of the property with the Peden Road extension, without divulging too much information that I cannot. I believe the plan is just like one retail user for the
That
end
would
user
front
of
that area, okay.
But that's the contemplated plan.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. Any other questions? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
appreciate it. All right, anyone else wishing to speak on this or against? Okay. All right, thank you. Any other questions for Stephen at this time? So Stephen, your recommendation, it would be to remove this and then look at, right now, as our plan currently is, having it here really doesn't do us much good without the other pieces.
That's my feeling.
I mean, that's my ask. I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that. I'm asking you, right?
I mean, that's my perspective. And, I mean, we could move that crossing over to the current alignment of Venture Drive. Venture? Yeah. Peden.
Components,
Yeah,
Peden, and then
yeah.
Venture.
Where that touches Outlet Center Drive, but again, that's impacting other properties by putting that line there. So if they were to develop, any changes that happen, driveways would be closed. So again, probably needs to be studied before you make that recommendation.
Okay. All right, so if no further questions for this time? All right, do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
I move to close the meeting, the public hearing.
A second, the
A
first
little
part.
too quick for that. Even though it'd be great. All right, I have a motion to close the public hearing. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, what's the pleasure of the board?
Mayor, I move that we recommend town council approve the proposed amendment to the Transportation Plan and Comprehensive Growth Management Plan, CA 22-02.
Second.
Have a motion and a second from Councilman Stevens. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, I'd like to make a comment. This is a good example of, we were presented hypotheticals, not knowing that there was a real project in place. That's why we need to have more time together to go over some of these things and why. Because we started this conversation off as a hypothetical, and then we have a lawyer come before us, and I appreciate y'all coming before us. But reality, and I know things are confidential, but we try to judge the pink elephant and don't even know it's a pink elephant sometimes. So, we deserve transparency, and so does the public. And I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. All right, now we will move on to citizens' comments.
No.
Anyone wishing to?
No.
Oh, wait, did I miss something? Sorry. Oh, wait a minute.
Number 2, public hearing 2.
Oh, I surely did. Thank you.
I
Appreciate
won't let
that.
you forget it.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I actually don't have that packet. That
Don't
I-
have a public hearing.
Not public hearing two, but it's business item two. Yeah, it's business item two.
Business item, sorry.
So, which is coming later.
I'm sorry,
but I don't
okay.
have it.
I apologize. I wrote it in the wrong place. It's a business item number 2, so he's right.
Yeah,
I put it in the wrong place.
All right, so we will go to citizens' comments. Anyone wishing to speak during this time, please come forward. If you state your name and address for the record. And if you will, please limit your comments to 3 minutes, please.
Yes, sir. My name is George Brewer. I've been volunteering at the Parks and Rec for about 10 years now, coaching baseball, basketball, and football. Well, I had a little situation this year. My football team, 9-year-old kids, went undefeated. I was invited to 3 turkey bowls. I reached out to Smithfield Parks and Rec director, also Mr. Michael Scott, to see if I can borrow the equipment for these kids to go participate in these tournaments. After they talked back and forth, I was told no. Well, I had 2 other towns next to us that heard about Smithfield turning us down, and they offered their equipment to us. I went and picked up one of the town's equipment, went to practicing. I was in the middle of a practice one day, and I get a text message from the town's director. Well, the text message was Mr. Scott here reaching out to the town manager of Selma, trying to bad-mouthing me and me and one of the guys who was throwing one of the turkey bowls, basically trying to get the equipment taken back from us. I don't understand why our youth should be going through this stuff. You know, I've had the privilege in the last 10 years to coach a bunch of kids. In the last 3 or 4 years, I've had 12 kids get rides in football, basketball, and baseball all around the county. But when we start getting in the way of these kids, it's hurting them. A lot of these kids, that's all they have to look forward to is Park and Rec sports. I had this year in football, we tried to come out of our own pockets to pay for complete uniforms for the whole football team. We were told no. We didn't ask the town, we didn't ask nobody for no money. We wanted to do it ourselves. We're told no. When we go to all these games around all these towns around us, man, these kids got nice stuff. But we come out there, my son plays for UNC Pembroke. We got the same equipment, the same jerseys that he had when he played here 8 years old. It's uncalled for. We're not asking nobody for money. We're just asking to let us have a little freedom of purchasing uniforms ourselves. But every time we try to do something, we're shot down. The poor little cheerleaders we have can't even put their names on their hair bows. But you go to other towns, see what they do, they get to do it. But everything that we try to do around here, we're always told no, always. So you got some kids that aren't privileged. They don't have rides to practice. They don't have rides to games. So when I go to practice, I pick up kids and take them to practice. That's the only way they can play. Now there's a rule now that if I go pick these kids up, these kids can't be on my team. Well, then whose team can they be on? They just can't even play sports no more. But it seems like I got a group of kids that play baseball, basketball, and football for me. And these kids, we have drafts. These kids were the kids that nobody wanted when they were 5 years old in their draft. But I took every one of them, and now that they have become successful, now they're trying to find ways of splitting my boys up. So this is one way this is one way of them putting a rule in to stop me from having a successful team, and some of these kids can't even play no more. I've got 4 or 5 kids that are sitting at home now, not doing nothing, because I was their only ride. You know, it's uncalled for, and I don't feel like Mr. Scott here should not have reached out to Selma, talking about me nor anybody else, and getting in the way of these kids playing football. We didn't ask nobody for nothing. We just, we're using equipment that's outdated. Even if you get a helmet refurbished, the helmet's only good for 10 years. My son was playing with the same helmet when he was 8 years old. He's 19 now. So the stuff's outdated anyways. You know, before every game, me and my coach right here, before every game, before every practice, we're on the sideline fixing helmets, you know, ironing numbers on, getting mouthpieces, doing, you know, it's uncalled for. These kids are young. They're young. You take that from them, man, there's no telling what they're going to get into. But I follow these kids from when they're 8 years old. I follow them until they get out of high school. For the last 5 years, I ain't missed one play at the high school. I follow these kids till they get to college. And when I see people get in the way of these kids, it really gets to me. I told these kids before every season, I tell them, if you give me 100% of yourself, I'm gonna give you 100% of myself. And this is part of me giving them my 100%, is to come up here and at least express some concerns that we have. And 3 minutes just ain't even enough. Yeah. That's just football, you know. Yeah.
No, I get it, but we are over time, Ms. Ruiz. But I do appreciate it. Now, just for my clarification, is your team a Parks and Rec?
Yes, sir.
Sponsored
yes, sir.
Team? Is it a Parks and Rec team?
It's Parks and Rec. These kids play baseball, basketball.
I'm looking at our director, and he's saying no. He's shaking his head no.
They play in our Parks and Rec program. The team that he wanted to take to the bowl was not sponsored by.
So I'm not going to get in, and then I'm not going to get into a debate. I'm not going to get into a debate. I just wanted clarification on that. So the Turkey Bowl team was not, that you wanted to borrow the uniforms for, was not a Parks and Recreation team. Is that correct?
It was the same team that I had at Parks.
But it wasn't a Parks and Rec team event. It wasn't a Parks and Rec. Okay, that's all.
No, sir.
Okay.
No, it wasn't a Park. Yeah. It was the same kids.
So let us check into this. I mean, I hear we'll get with the manager and so forth, but. And
one more thing, we have waivers and everything that we're gonna get signed and all from the kids.
Right. Gotcha.
So everything's gonna be in line and done like it was supposed to be done.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Brewer. Appreciate it. Anyone else wishing to speak during citizens' comments?
Yes, sir. Can it be on the same subject?
Absolutely. Yep. If you will state your name and address for the record, and again, I will ask you to hold your comments to 3 minutes, please. Yes, sir.
All right. Well, I'm Albert Edwards. I live in Pine Level, 305 South Church Street, Pine Level. I've come to Smithfield to be part of the rec team. Be quite honest with you. And I paid the full amount to come here. I didn't get a discount because I don't know the politics. I don't know. I'm just telling you from my view, what I see, what I'm a part of. I'm only part of a coach here. Let me be a part of the staff as I could. I work a lot and gone a lot, but there's a reason I'm standing here tonight. Is this guy back here and what he represents and what this team should represent. And I hate to be all over the place, but far as the Turkey Bowl, I'm assuming someone allowed it to be played in Smithfield and teams were going to come out of Smithfield or, outside of Smithfield to play in this Turkey Bowl. So my only concern, if we let those facilities be used for other people, I'm assuming somebody paid money, some kind of insurance or whatever to have this event. It would have been a nice gesture for these boys that have a lot, don't have a means. Now, if you ask me, I can go get my son all the equipment he needs. I have that privilege. For whatever reason, some people don't. Like Coach said, he has to carry some of these boys. But long story short, I'll try not to keep it to 3 minutes, but leaders are not born. They're made. Hard work, dedication, accountability, and holding a higher standard. That's why my boy played with him this year. That's why I'm part of this staff, is what I see. If it's girls, I'm not for sure if we include girls or not. There wasn't any on our team. If they were, it doesn't matter. I'm talking about people, no matter what color, shape, or size. Leaders, or you have to make them. They're not born. This is what he's doing here. Maybe some of the future that you see on this here might come off of those fields if you have the proper support. But I can pay, like I say, I paid the regular amount. But he is right that I played on other teams. I don't like what I see there. There's too many politics, and that's probably what's here too. But we need to make strong young men and women, if that's who's on the football team, and it takes strong leaders to make those future leaders. And this is what we have. We just need some support from, and this is the outside looking in. I don't know everything, but I know I got a good one back there. And I plan on staying with him. I plan my son staying with him, and we're going to come from Pine Level. Even though there's better equipment and better stuff elsewhere. Where he goes, I'm going to follow. I'm here right now with your shirt on, and I live in Pine Level, right? Because I like this guy and what he stands for. And I see these boys growing. And a lot of these boys don't have the luxury of my daughter and son. They have somebody like me at home. They have him. I try to help out when I can. But accountability is great for everybody. If you're 5, 10, 50, whatever age you might be. This is what we're trying to do. We need a little bit of help. And like you said, we try to pay out of our pockets. But like I say, I know the politics are kind of swaying that. What for, I don't know. But why can't they have I worked on equipment all year long. I feel like I could go to NC State and be their equipment guy. I mean, I worked on helmets and everything all year long. And it's just a shame what kind of equipment we were dealing with. I'm not blaming anybody because, like I say, I don't know everything. I'm just getting started here. But my eyes showed me a lot. But there are, when you go there, and we played good. We went undefeated this year. That's the boys. Has nothing to do with me. They just took some of the teaching. That's it. But long story short, we would appreciate some help if we can get it, take it in consideration, and don't judge. I'm just going for what I'm saying. I think I seen something on the form like $25, $30, $35 that maybe for in-town of Smithfield. But don't just take that number, and I know with the 3 minutes or whatever, don't just take that number and say, give people the option. If you give me the option, I want the jersey on my boys' back. I guarantee there's a lot of other people that might cut out something to have the same thing and look like the other folks instead of just having stuff that's been here for ages. And those helmets, like you said, to be quite honest with you, are probably unsafe at this point because of the age. But anyway, thank you for your time. Appreciate it, gentlemen. I wished I could talk more, and we could go through a lot, but thank you. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Edwards. Appreciate it. Anyone else wishing to speak during citizens' comments? Okay, not seeing any. We will now move on to the consent agenda. I have a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved, Mr. Mayor. Second.
Motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you. All right, now move on to our business items. Our first business item is consideration and request for approval to update the Public Utility Capital Improvement Plan. Ted?
Gentlemen, thank you. Thank you for letting me come and speak this evening. The purpose of this presentation is to ask the council to approve this proposed update to our capital improvement plan for public utilities. As we've done in the past, we update this plan every couple of years just to remain current, which in turn enables us to be in a more advantageous position when we apply for grants and loans. As you recall, the 10-year plan acts as a guide or roadmap for future direction of the department. Such plan is not required by law, but is an integral piece of planning when applying for financial aid from federal and state agencies. The most recent update was approved by Council in January of 2021. Due to ongoing demands from desired growth, the town needs to lay out an aggressive plan so we are prepared to meet those needs. So this is a tabular form of the existing adopted plan. This plan combines all three budgeted departments. I'll break down each division so the final proposed changes will be clear. Specifically in our electric division, much of the focus was on upgrading the infrastructure in our service area. The approved plan called for the installation of advanced metering, the conversion of the town's distribution system to a safer and more reliable voltage, generators at lift stations, the purchase of new service trucks so electric crews can respond to service calls without rolling out the larger bucket truck. The upgrade to delivery point number 1, which is on Hospital Road, which is needed due to the age of the existing station. The construction of a new circuit coming out of Brogdon Road, which would spread north along Booker Dairy and serve growth out there. System improvements along Buffalo Road to serve the East River development, and the investigation into the feasibility of using municipal batteries as the emergency electric supply and/or for load management. While the long-range plan projects continue, we have already ordered the service truck, and construction of the North Circuit was completed. Missing generators at lift stations were rolled into state-funded projects and federally funded projects as well. And due to legal entanglements that have not been fully fleshed out at this time, the use of municipal batteries has been abandoned. So where does this leave us? The proposed plan continues the long-term infrastructure improvement projects. One subtle change is the inclusion of the upgrade of Delivery Point 1, allowing another circuit to be constructed from Delivery Point 1 northward to serve and support that future development out north of Booker Dairy, which is now Durwood-Stevenson Parkway. The replacement of a large work vehicle such as a digger derrick or second bucket truck will be spread out so that hopefully we'll not need any kind of replacement of any two very expensive vehicles within the same budget cycle. For the water plant, the existing plan focused on some improvements along the river, improvements to the distribution system in East Smithfield, internal control upgrades, the desire to make the two town water distribution systems into one distribution system, and of course the improvements and expansions at the water plant. What can be reported in the large-scale project of water plant improvements is wrapping up. The project will complete in the next 45 days. We can also say that the other items mentioned are still on the list going forward, and some have already begun to be placed in motion. The proposed plan maintains the emphasis on all the improvements along the river, which was not addressed in the plan improvement project and will need attention in the coming years. We continue our improvements of upgrading our control system and placing a backbone of water lines east of 95 to be prepared for whatever the future has in store. We keep the inclusion of the two water distribution systems into one system, and we include future anticipated needs such as pump rebuilds down the line and other work vehicles in and around the water plant. The existing plan for Water and Sewer Division reflects the need for overall system improvements, from the continuing efforts to battle infiltration and inflow to the upgrades at the town lift stations. Many projects and programs were presented to improve the overall system. Both long-term and current needs were included in the plan to address existing issues and help avoid infrastructure falling into disrepair. Since January of 21, some of the immediate needs were met and smaller projects have been completed. Most of the rest of the projects are still ongoing, but we do show success in the rehabilitation of the overall system. The updated plan retains many of the same long-term goals. The immediate need is dovetailed with the long-term goal of overall system improvement. We are targeting the worst areas to rehabilitate while maintaining reliable areas through consistent construction repair efforts. So again, this was the plan as it currently adopted in tabular form. The red highlights show what has been accomplished since 2021, and therefore that they are removed as well as the funding mentioned. Once we consolidate the original plan, we end up with a new proposed plan for 2023. So in summary, the new capital improvement plan sets the roadmap for the next 10 years. It allows the electric division to continue to convert the town grid to handle increased demands. The water fund keeps the expansion of the town's water system moving forward while maintaining an eye on long-term infrastructure upgrade needs. I will remind the council that this plan, like all plans previous, is non-binding. Actual budgetary numbers are only worked out annually during our annual budget process in the preparation for the coming fiscal year. As needs change, staff will return to council to keep this plan current. So thank you for your time, and I'd be happy to discuss any of these items or answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Ted. Any questions for Ted?
I have a question related to the fire hydrant valve thing. What does that include? You said it says fire hydrant valve insertion. And I noticed, I look over here, it looks like it's planned $100,000 for this coming, well, for next year. Hold on, let me see here. Yep, for this year, $100,000 for this year, 2023-24, 2024-25, but then it goes, and then 25-26, but when it gets up to 26-27, it goes to $250,000 and then $300,000 the following year. So,
Yeah.
I mean, what is,
Yeah, what we're doing two things with that. One, fire hydrants, nowadays, all fire hydrants that are built, we require them to put a valve in so you can turn off the fire hydrant if you need to maintain it, look at anything. Many of the fire hydrants in town, I would be willing to say at least half, do not have these valves. So in order for us to work on a leaky fire hydrant, for example, we have to shut down a block or half a block or 2 blocks sometimes. And we'd really rather not do that. We'd like to insert the valve so that we can then maintain the fire hydrant. Or example, we had one hit not too long ago over there by Walgreens on 10th Street. There was no valve there to begin with. So what we did was replace the fire hydrant and we inserted the valve. So the funds are there really for fire hydrant maintenance, repair, replacement, and the insertion of valves as we go around town. The reason it escalates is the cost of everything is escalating, and we just know in the future, as we get close and we try and close out various projects, we'll have to try and get what we can.
so can I ask a question of our fire chief?
Sure.
Because I know we had an incident with fire hydrant at my house, down near my house recently, and it had to be replaced. And when I was talking to some of your men, they said they got fire hydrants all over the place, it just ain't working. And I know we've had this discussion too, they're leaking and things of that nature. So my question is, because you just went and reflushed them all, right? I mean, you did them all within the last year, isn't that correct?
Right, and we keep a current list of any problems we have with the hydrants, and I share that with Ted.
Right, but my question really is related to capital outlay. So my question is, based on what you know, what you see, then the question is this budget going to cover fixing all the ones that we've got that needs to be repaired now and not in, that's the question. It's $100,000 all we got budgeted.
I think that would fix all of them at one time, no, because that's a lot. He's right, the hydrants are going up, and those valves are tricky, so it's going to take time.
So my question is then, should we not be anticipating that? Should we not fix them? That's my question. I mean, I know that because I said if we got, again, when they did my stuff, the problem is, just like everywhere else in town, there's pipe been down there for 50 years, right? Right. And when they took it up, it busted up, they had to replace the pipe way back because it's just old. Stuff gets old, has to be repaired. So the question is, though, I just feel that we need to fix what we've got. And if we need to spend some money to fix it so that it's right, then let's spend the money and get it right. I mean, we've got, we keep talking, we just had our budget evaluation and they came back and showed how much money we've got and that's good. We're trying to blow our money. but the money's not there for us to have a large savings account, right? The money's there for us to meet the needs of the town. And if the needs of the town needs to spend more of that money in the savings account, then we need to spend some more money in the savings account. So if we need to do more to fix these hydrants so that everybody has a safe hydrant, doesn't leak all over the place and then burst or whatever, don't we need to spend the money to do that? That's my question related to this. Is this budget going to be able to do, or this capital outlay plan going to do it? That's my question.
Okay. So the answer is really twofold.
Okay.
One, there is this acts as a roadmap of things we know we need to do. The laundry list is there. The actual numbers and money is done annually. So I can't, if in 2026, is there enough money? I don't know. I don't know because I don't know the revenue we're going to have in 2026. So that's a great item to bring up in our budget process in the next couple of months as we look forward to next year. If you want to spend, if the council or I propose and the manager agrees and the council agrees, we will put more money into that particular item to get it done. The fire department does share that list with us, and we do take action on it. I think usually it's between 20 and 30 hydrants every 6 months or so. Yeah. And we do hit it. We've been on it, and we do 5 or 6 every couple of weeks. Based on need, we rank them, obviously. The ones that are really bad, we hit immediately. And the ones that are on the list, but they have a slow leak or, and we work on it. We do get it done.
So the question, and I guess I go back to my budget. This is the credit outlet capital improvement plan update. So my question is did you need more money? And that's my question.
Right.
Do you need more money in the capital improvement plan to fix our hydrants?
And the answer is the capital improvement plan is a non-binding number. So if I put 100,000 or 400,000 in there, I'll do whatever you want.
Yeah,
but the number's non-binding until it's
plan
annually.
of what you think needs to happen over the next few years. The money comes in every year during our budget process, right? So if we want to stick to this plan, then we would look at this plan which we do during our budget process, right? Then if you say you wanted to do X number of replacements a year, you would have a pretty good idea of what that valve's going to cost, right? Yep. And then we can budget accordingly, right? So I think that's done on an annual basis. So I don't think the numbers per se are the big item in this plan. This gives us an idea, right? But it's more, this is what he feels like he needs to be doing over the next few years. But I did have one question as far as the hydrant. I heard you say the valve is for fixing a leaky hydrant or so forth, and that it's not necessarily a safety issue. You can fix this without the valve replacement. You can fix a hydrant.
Right.
You just have to shut down the water in a certain area in order to replace it.
Correct.
So it's not, I just want to be clear, this is not necessarily a safety-related issue. It makes your job easier, and that means that it may prevent having to shut down a block of customers for 5 hours to replace it instead of shutting down the hydrant and still taking 5 hours to fix the problem. It's just that those people are not going to be without water for that 5-hour period of time. So I want to make sure I understand this clearly. As far as this goes, your question is just, I know there's a lot in this plan. We're not just focusing on hydrants that you brought it up.
Right.
When I hear safety-related issues, I start to get a little concerned. That's not what I heard. I heard this valve is for actually ease of fixing and the maintenance of the actual hydrant. Is that correct?
Yeah,
okay.
That's what it's for.
All right. Okay, cool. Thank you. Does that help you? I understand. I'm not saying right, wrong, or indifferent. I'm just saying,
But you just said, though, we use this part of what we use for our budgeting process. So if the capital outlay, if the capital improvement plan has numbers that are below what we need to be spending, then that's the number we're going to start off with when we do our budgeting. So the question is, if there's more needed in this area, then should it not be in the capital improvement plan? That's my statement. That's my concern. That's why I asked the fire chief up there too, because my question is, if we need more money, then we should be putting more in the capital improvement plan, because when we do the budgeting, to your point, we're using this as a guideline. And if this guideline is not correct, then we're going to start off with an inappropriate number and not provide the information and stuff that we need.
No, I get it.
And we're going to try to attack
don't-
those issues that need to be attacked. That's what I'm
Right.
saying.
And my ask for that is just to bring real numbers to the budget.
Okay.
Yeah, we need numbers.
Right.
on the fire hydrant.
Okay.
Because that same valve today
Yep.
might be $2,000. 2 months from now, it might be $6,000
Yep,
when
I
we get
understand.
into budget process.
expensive,
He doesn't know right now,
Yep.
right? But the way things, we are experiencing that right now with every project that we're doing in the town, the way costs are, right? We just don't know at this time. But I see your point, absolutely.
Okay.
I would just say, when it comes, and that's just not for this, right? It's
No,
for
no, that's right.
everything in the plan. If we just say we want to tackle that this year, per the plan, then we need realistic numbers. Is that fair, Mr. Manager?
Yes, sir.
Is that fair? Is that
I'm good.
address?
I just-
Mayor, I have a few comments I'd like to say. Thank you, Mr. Credo, for the presentation.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
I just want to be, observe in fact, the mayor's touched on inflation in many areas in regards to cost and such. I don't think we've said it enough, but looking at the water plant expansion, which was a relative controversial topic, I just want to thank you, the manager of finance. You guys put a lot of time into that, and there's been very little increase. I mean, it was well budgeted and well looked at. I just want to thank you for that, because that's being a good steward of our money. The county's going into a regionalization study plan. We're well prepared for the future, even though some of us were not in favor of the water plant expansion at the time. It's understood that it's almost done, and it's quite commendable. And you manage all three of these funds, which we consider enterprise funds, and then the capital improvement is a plan to make things better. The only question I had, and we've discussed it in budget, and we can talk about it more in budget workshop, but I want to make sure we put emphasis in our load management and, make sure that we plan that, because every dollar that we invest in that is a return to our customer in some way. And I know you know the value of it, but I don't think that we should take light off that. And I have one question, and that's it. I noticed in the CIP plan, it was mentioned an electrical fund, generators for the lift station. In fact, does the electrical fund fund the generators for the water sewer?
No.
Okay. Why would that be? I'm just curious. That was just,
The water, the reason they run, we're mandated by law, under DEQ law, to have emergency power. So it's more appropriate that it be put in the water fund because we use it for backup power, not necessarily for load management at the lift stations.
okay. So in other words, it's just for an emergency.
Well, we test them
Right.
routinely, but yeah, the purpose of it is to maintain power when we have outages.
Okay. But the water sewer fund is paying for that.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments on the plan for Ted or staff?
I do have a question for the manager, not directly to Ted's part, but this last plan that Ted had was 2 years ago, and he's coming back with his 10-year plan now, which is vital for planning ahead. Do all the departments do these this often, or is it more sporadic?
We actually do a 5-year plan every year during the budget process. Each department completes that.
I did have one other question. We discussed, I think last year, we discussed the, getting I'm not good at this, so you got to bear with me, so I'm going to be layman getting this done. But, putting the pipe into our sewer lines or our water lines, I'm thinking of sewer lines, wasn't it? Where we could see the camera, see where our hot clogs, where our breaks at, where our humps are at, and then fix them, that it makes our water flow better related to wastewater.
Infiltration.
Yeah, stuff that I thought was, are we doing have we done any of that? Are we anywhere on that? And is there any equipment in here for capital improvement to do that?
Yeah, we have a program set aside. That's under inflow and infiltration in the water sewer as number one item. That's what we do. We have a contractor currently that kind of goes and hunts, and we give them suspect areas based on water usage, based on our, what's the word I'm looking for? Based on the amount of times we go out there to fix something in that area or that neighborhood. So we set them a plan on, look down these lines, et cetera, or based on complaints. For example, I think recently off of, we've had odor complaints along the river again. So I think the next day or two, they'll be down there looking, just looking to see if there are any cracks and crevices. We are looking for constant infiltration, water coming in and that kind of thing. When we see it, we fix it. That was actually, and that's part of, we get these grants every 2 or 3 years, the AIA grant, that's part of it.
So do we contract with somebody to do that, though?
We
don't-
contract, we
it doesn't
pay for that.
cost us to have that equipment
Yeah.
ourselves?
The state's a little insidious. They give us money to find our problems, but they don't give us money to fix the problems. So we have to pay for that. But I mean, they do that with everybody, but.
Any other comments, questions? No? Ted, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Can I get approval on that?
Do we need to vote on the?
Yeah, that's what, that was, I would appreciate it if you
Okay.
guys would approve the update.
Oh, okay, all right. So the manager said to assist with grants, we would approve it. So I have a motion to approve the capital plan.
Mayor, I make a motion to approve the amended capital improvement plan for the 3 enterprise funds that are presented tonight.
Motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
All right. Now we will move on to our next business item.
I jumped the gun while ago.
Okay, no problem. This is the one that was added tonight, consideration to support an application for CMAQ CRP grants to support construction of an 8-foot wide trail from Neuse River to Wilson's Mills Road. Stephen?
Thank you. So there's been a lot of talk for quite some time about trails in West Smithfield, correct, Dr. Barber? We learned about CMAQ funding from the RPO, the Rural Planning Organization. They have a pot of money called CMAQ funds that their, towns can apply for it, and they get to distribute the money. So we're looking at an 8-foot multipurpose trail from the Neuse River Bridge to the Wilson's Mills Road, that segment. And this map shows the dashed yellow line. This trail is identified on our draft pedestrian plan, which I have a copy of, which I'm ready to show the council probably next meeting, but the maps, we want to do some improvements to the maps, the graphics in that plan, so that it's more presentable. So we're working on that, but this does match that. We had looked at, south side versus north side of this corridor. The grades fall off close to the bridge very fast, making it very difficult to put a trail on the south side. So we're looking at the north side. I've already talked about some of this. In 2014, sidewalks were envisioned on this corridor with a landscaping project for West Market Street. Those sidewalks never were constructed, probably for cost, I imagine. Again, in 2021, staff was informed that the UPC RPO had $625,000 in CMAQ funds to award. So that's when we kind of decide what project is our highest priority and put together a cost estimate. The town engineer put together an estimate, and then the DOT also put together an estimate, and the two numbers were nearly the same. What you see in our report is the DOT's numbers. The estimate exceeds the amount for the CMAQ funding amount. We're also informed that the CRP, the Carbon Reduction Program, has money also that could be used for sidewalks. So we have the potential to supplement this project with a separate application to the CRP. If the council so chooses, otherwise we'd have to scale this project back some. DOT, just want to put this out there, DOT in 2021 did adopt a complete street program. which means when you do have trails identified on a master plan, such as our PED plan, if that street is repaired, the DOT does have to build that infrastructure. Now, this corridor, who knows if and when it'll ever be upgraded to the point where DOT has to build the infrastructure we want. It could be 20, 30 years from now. But just wanted to make sure you know that if we do nothing, someday it will get built. It just may be a very long time.
Now, does that include, if they do resurfacing of the road?
I don't think it's resurfacing, it's a reconstruction, it's a major widening type of project. So again, this is the old West Market Street landscape improvements. You can see there were sidewalks drawn on this plan, so this idea has been around a long time. So again, 8-foot wide multi-purpose trail rather than a sidewalk, because we don't think we can get a sidewalk on the other side, or maybe not the whole way. At least a multi-purpose trail is going to be more multi-purpose and provide a better access through that critical junction between downtown and West Smithfield. So there are $625,000 available through CMAQ. The remainder can be obtained through CRP, through an application. If we don't get funded, we'd have to scale the project back. But both funding sources require a 20% match, which of course is not budgeted. This is something that we hadn't looked at yet. The application deadline is March 15th, subject to TCC, TAC approval in January. James Salmons, head of the RPO, has put it on the agenda for the TCC, and it will also then be on the TAC. If the town chooses to move forward, that'll stay on their agenda, and they will take action on it. If the council chooses not to move forward, I will let James know. So the total NCDOT estimated cost of the project is $2,345,000. Sorry, $2,345,000 with a local match of roughly $480,000. Again, these are estimated numbers. As Andy said, $3 goes to $6 really quick. These are estimated numbers. Again, the project scope can be modified for the budgetary purposes. If the town council were to allocate a lesser amount of match, we could scale the project back. It just wouldn't go all the way to Wilson's Mills Road. If there was more money, we could extend it up Wilson's Mills Road some, perhaps. Really, you know, it depends on the amount of money we have. And again, not budgeted currently. So the question tonight is, does the council support an application for the project with a 20% match of roughly $480,000? This is not committing the town at this point. You know, an application will have to be made and an agreement would come back to you for final approval. At that point, you could turn it down. Last year, Selma got to that point and they turned down the money. So it happens.
But Tarboro, was it Tarboro?
Tarboro
did
got a project.
do it. I think I had mentioned, so, and also one thing to point out is James Salmons, who used to be the executive director or whatever of the Upper Coastal Rural Planning Organization, which I'm on. I serve as the delegate for that. He now works for DOT. So he understands this and so forth. And I mean, I think he's a good, he's a good contact, right? He's now working on these projects on it from a DOT standpoint. But Tarboro did get it. Was awarded. That doesn't mean that we would, but they did get it last year, the year before, and they were able to put in some sidewalks in some areas, much like the Wilson's Mills area, right? It was an area that was already developed that they extended out to. So, just as a point.
Now, this 8-foot wide trail, that is going to be on the property owner side of the current landscaping? I mean, because the landscaping's fairly close to the road as it is. You couldn't put it between the road and the landscaping.
No, there's a lot of right-of-way in there.
On the
It's not
backside of the,
on the backside of the landscaping, there's additional right-of-way. It's not to say that there might not be a few places where we need additional right-of-way, especially as we get up to Wilson's Mills Road. there might be a need for easements or something. Again, those are some of the details that will have to be worked out if we agree to move forward and get an estimate from a contractor and take to the next step. But right now, we're talking kind of generally, is this something the council wants to pursue, knowing the numbers we have, which means 2 applications? Or do they want to scale it back just to the CMAQ funding and scale back the project? It's really up to the council.
Mayor, I have a couple questions. Mr. Winsman, can you pull the slide up that's got your estimated route? The one thing I know, I don't know if you can zoom that in around the river area. One thing I noticed is I don't quite understand, the crosswalk on that bridge is on the other side.
I believe it's on both sides.
So
Both
it would
sides.
serve, okay.
Yeah, they're both on.
But the side that you're putting the path on would have more impact on the retail space. I guess my point is I'm curious of why we selected that side of the road. Is that what the original plan was?
Well, the plan I showed you showed 5-foot sidewalks on both sides, but you can't have a sidewalk against a road without a curb. So there'd be a lot more curbing and stuff. And in this area right in here, right at the edge of the road, those trees, you see the crep myrtles? Right at the roots of those crep myrtles, the grade falls 20 feet.
It does.
So it's very difficult to do anything on that side.
So, okay, that makes sense. Would you have some type of stairwell structure to let them get down to the greenway over at the bridge side, or we haven't discussed that?
That's not in the scope. But we do have on our comprehensive plan, a plan to go through this DSDC property back around to our new future park at some point. So, that'll come off this bridge somewhere here and come down.
And the only other question I have, I know the county this morning passed the plan that was presented to us, I think it was around $66 million projected, but they passed a plan to do the study for this trail structure in the county. How would this impact that? Because they're open to discussion, but I understand this is an immediate opportunity, but I guess would that be working collaborative with them on their project?
You talking about the Neuse River Trail?
The greenways.
The
yeah.
greenway, connecting to Clayton?
Well, this goes all the way through the
To
county.
Benson, yeah.
We saw that plan a few meetings ago.
This is not one of those corridors that they're proposing. However, it all strengthens the greenway. The more people can get to the greenway, the more people will use the greenway. So this is just supporting what they're doing.
And let me interject that there's no way people in West Smithfield can get to the Greenway safely. It's
Right.
impossible. You can drive in a car if you have to, but there's no way you can walk or ride a bicycle safely to get there. So this is just part of what needs to be done. This is not really a luxury. This is a need to be done to be able to enable that part of the town to connect with the rest of the town. To be able to get to the Greenway, to be able to get to the community park, because they can do that through the Greenway. They can't really do anything today. It's dangerous. I definitely don't want to walk down Derwin Stevens Parkway, that bridge, it's tall. I had somebody the other day break down on it. Boy, it was not a good experience. So the point is, I think this is something that this is part of what we need to do, but it's not far enough. Talking about not enough project, it's not enough project. We need to figure a way to get the project all the way up the road for that side of the road. So, but this is definitely a good start. And if we can get somebody else to help pay a large portion of it, we need to do it. Because we need to do it. We need to see if we can find funding from somebody else too. We need to hit the county up for some funding too, on doing some of these things that we need to do. If they can build a community park for, that people don't have to pay taxes on it, that's another story, another day. Where's my buddy? He done gone. Oh, he's back there. They can put in some sidewalks. Anyway.
All right. Any other questions, comments for Stephen? If not, Do I have a motion to approve moving forward with these grants?
I make a motion, we move forward with these grants, both grants.
Mayor, further discussion before we vote on it. How are we going to fund it?
Let me get a second before I.
Thank you.
Do I have a second? Okay, motion and a second. All right, no, go ahead.
Just further discussion, where are we going to come up with $480,000? I mean, we're fixing to approve this application. We got to know where this money's coming from.
Well, you're not committing at this point.
I understand, but we still have to have a plan of how we're going to pay for it.
Yeah, and I can explain how it gets paid. As the town, as it get billed, I mean, we get reimbursed as we go from the state. As this grant, how this grant works, we get reimbursed for the 80% as we go.
Okay, where are we getting the 20%?
And the manager's here.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. To back up just a minute to clarify what Stephen said, this $2 million, almost $2.5 million, we would foot that whole bill a little at a time with this grant. So as the project is built, we have to pay for the project, then we seek reimbursement, and we receive 80% of whatever that cost is. That's how we end up with the 20% match. So you have a number of places where this money could come from. Some of the things I had mentioned earlier in some of the paperwork I provided, you could do debt, you could look at fund balance, you could look at American Rescue Plan funds, you have the Bingham Park money still sitting out there, which is about $350,000. You have Park and Lieu funds that can be used for the balance of that. Those are all revenue streams that you could use to provide this. You can also, depending on how our budget works throughout this process, you may be able to budget for some of it. It just depends on how many capital items we end up purchasing this year. But those are the highly recommended areas where I'd suggest you come up with that $480,000.
So passing this motion tonight, what financial commitment does that make us have?
We don't have any financial commitment at this point.
Selma turned it down when they got.
But the problem is, that Selma did turn theirs down, but the more you turn these grants down, when you ask for them again, the less likely you are that you're going to get one. Because if you turn it down, that means somebody else didn't have the opportunity to put in for it and maybe get it. So they don't want the money to sit. They want the money to be spent. They want the money to be used. Like Stephen said, we have a good opportunity to receive this funding. We feel very strong about it. It's a great opportunity. I think we can come up with the money, and we have a few places to do that, make that decision if indeed we get the grant funds.
What was the timeline?
When would we know something?
I actually don't know exactly when the grant would be awarded, but I don't think it'll take too long because the funds are at the RPO, essentially. They've got the money to spend. They get allotted so much, each RPO gets allotted so much money, and that's what they have. The CRP money they would have to apply for, I believe.
Yeah. We're being encouraged to put in for this grant.
Right.
These grants. Which we have a great history in Smithfield in recent times of getting awarded grants, managing them properly, and getting the projects done. So, we're a great partner for these people, and they know it.
Well, I support the project, but my concern is we have other things that should be more priority. For example, potholes in the roads and such that we've discussed. And, we're allocating real dollars to something that is more or less a luxury in regards to car travel. And I mean, that's my whole concern, but I'm okay with us doing the grant application. I just think we need to pay close attention to the funding as we get closer. But thank you for clarifying that and presenting this, Mr. Winsman.
The motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries
you.
unanimous. All right. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. All right, now we will move on to council members' comments. Have any members of the council wishing to speak?
Mr. Mayor, I just got one thing. We are still moving forward, taking advantage of our drone park at Gertrude Johnson Golden Park. We have a race, scheduled drone race. We encourage people to come out. It will be on Saturday, January the 28th. I think it starts at 10 o'clock. We will hope to have some flyers soon to be published out there. I think, Gary, was it 10 o'clock? I think 10 to 3. It doesn't cost anything. They would encourage you to come and see them race. It will be, again, it should be a good event for people to see. We've had several events they continue to build. I think they're getting more. They're actually publishing the information out there, so our town's getting some recognition from it. And that's really, as you remember, the tourism paid for the fence to be built out there because they believed it was a tourist attraction area to have a drone park, and it's working, we're moving in that direction. So we just appreciate everybody and coming out to see. That'll be Saturday, January the 28th, and again, there'll be some flyers going out pretty soon. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Anyone else?
I had a couple, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
First of all, I want to ask, I guess Lawrence, is the street sweeper, is it still working?
The street sweeper is still working. What's happening is that unfortunately, it's starting to warm up now. What happens is in the cold days, the street sweeper does not operate if it's below 35 degrees in the morning, because what happens is the water system and it freezes up. So that's why we don't see it. As it starts to warm up, you'll see the street sweeper back inactive. But we are working it on the warm days.
All right, appreciate it. There's two other things real quick. Actually, this Saturday, I had the chance to go over the Magic Tunnel, and I know Eddie and Randy. I didn't really know, but that day they said it was pretty much, that was going to be their last day of operation and running the car wash. So just, kudos to them. I think they've been running that with their family for like 38 years. So I know Eddie at one point was a volunteer firefighter, I think. So I just want to just say kudos to them for having that business over in District 1 for over 38 years. And then lastly, today, this really came out today, but I kind of knew a few weeks ago, and actually the coach at Triple S, the football coach, he's going to be leaving Triple S. I definitely did, give him a big shout out today, and just bringing back the excitement and, just pouring into them young kids over at Triple S. The last 2 years, definitely, Friday nights were definitely fun over there at Triple S with the amount of success that they had. And he definitely, in turn, wanted to thank the town for all the support. I know we did allocate $500 for one of their meals during the playoffs. But he's going to be heading to another school to coach. And, I just wished him well. And I just definitely wanted to let him know that his efforts were not in vain, and he definitely did turn that program around from laughing stock throughout the state to one of the rising programs in the state. So I just wanted to mention that real quick.
Councilman Lee, do you know when his last day is? Do you know?
I think he's going to work probably about another 30 days, so I think sometime in February. Of course, he couldn't make it tonight, so that's why I kind of heard say, just in case he is gone by the next meeting or whatever. He'll just be heading over to a school in Wake County close to us. Well,
it's unfortunate. He certainly has done a lot for that program, so thanks for letting us know, because he has certainly done a lot, and that's very unfortunate for the school and for the kids and for this community. But also wish him well in his new endeavors. So thank you. Anyone else have any comments? Okay. I'll turn it over to the manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do not have a whole lot. I wanted to remind everyone that we have a daddy-daughter dance coming up on February 18th. So you can put that on your calendars. Make sure that those people who have an interest can attend that. We have the police chief search is continuing. We have a community input meeting scheduled for a week from today, Tuesday, the 10th, from 6 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. here in the council chambers. Anyone who has an interest in that position wants to provide their input as to the traits and the type of police chief you feel like Smithfield should be hiring for their next chief. Certainly, we had a good one that retired recently. We want to use some of the traits that he had as well, but any input the community would like to provide, please show up between 6 and 7:30. Don't have to be here for the whole thing. Just come in, drop out, and provide your input. Let's see. Also, the contract that the town has with Downtown Smithfield Development has expired. We are working to follow the statute and seek public input before we can look at making a determination to renew a new contract. That public input is going to take place here in the council chambers any day of the week from tomorrow, Wednesday, through the following Wednesday, January 11th. Just come into the main lobby and provide your input, or you can call in to 919-989-1077 anytime during that week and provide your input there. Or you can provide an email by emailing shannon.parish@smithfield-nc.com anytime during that week. So we appreciate any input anyone would like to provide in regards to things they'd like to see downtown, things involving contract with any nonprofit that the town may wish to contract with to run that municipal special tax district downtown. We also have Martin Luther King Jr. Day coming up on January 16th. Town buildings and services will be closed with the exception of emergency services. It's my understanding, due to the pandemic, COVID, and RSV that everyone is experiencing, that the Martin Luther King Jr. Parade will not occur this year. But please take a moment during that day and recognize it for what it is. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you, sir. One final thing is we had discussed about the continuation of the manager's evaluation, and he spoke of the meeting on January the 10th for the police chief or the public input. So I was wondering if you would like to maybe us to pick up his evaluation that night. We could come to that, and then we could also just continue with his evaluation that same night if you're available. Say the meeting the public meeting starts at 6, right?
Yes.
On the police chief. We could do 6:30, 7:30. If you guys are, that way we don't have to have another night, coming in to do his do the evaluation, talk about goals. Thoughts on that? The 10th. I see a lot of people shaking heads. We good on that? What time would be good? 7 o'clock?
That meeting is scheduled till 7:30,
Yeah.
so, that's is that an open meeting, Mike?
It is. It's a drop-in, drop-out meeting.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking, is that, just to drop in, so we could maybe start ours at 7, if that would work.
Well, we'd have to, is that an open meeting, or that has to be in closed session?
This would be in closed session.
Okay, understood. So that would work, okay. I'm fine with whatever you decide, Mayor. I'm free that evening.
Okay. You want to do it at 7 o'clock? That work? All right, so we could recess, I want to make sure I do this correctly. So we could recess this meeting to a time certain of January the 10th, 2023, at 7 o'clock, go into closed session to discuss the manager's evaluation. Is that?
Yeah, one place. Where you
Would you do it in the
here
conference?
in the conference room.
Okay.
And we could have it public at the beginning if we needed to, and then
Yeah, you'll
go
need to
into
start
closed
in-
session.
yeah, you'll
Right,
need
we'd
to start
start in
open.
public and then go into closed session, okay? So, if that's agreeable to the council, I'll entertain a motion to recess this meeting to January the 10th, 2023, at 7 o'clock to discuss the manager's evaluation in the chamber, the council chambers.
So moved,
Conference
Mayor.
room. Okay, have a motion and a second. All in favor? All right, we'll stand recessed until January the 10th. Thank you.